As each day goes on, online meetings and streaming is getting more and more popular. So it's becoming increasingly important to have a good webcam that you can use for meetings or your streaming needs that is outside of just your built-in webcam on your laptop or computer. So that's where the Meet 4K from Osbot comes in. It's a high quality webcam that you can plug straight into your computer, and that's what we're looking at today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the specs of the Meet 4K. As you can see, it's about the size of a GoPro, actually just a little bit smaller, and only weighs in at 2.54 ounces. And as the name implies, it is a 4K camera, which means it'll do 4K 30 frames a second and then 1080p 60 frames a second, and you have a host of resolutions underneath that you can pick from as well. It does have a digital zoom of 4x. It is HDR compatible and has an aperture of f2.2 with a field of view of 86 degrees, 78 degrees, and 65 degrees. The built-in audio is handled by dual omnidirectional microphones on the front of the camera itself, and the camera connects to your computer through a USB Type-C connection. As far as mounting goes, it does include a magnetic bracket that you can attach to your computer, and it also does have a quarter 20 on the bottom of the camera itself so that you can attach tripods and other accessories. All right, guys, so what did I like about the Meet 4K? First off, it features a high quality Sony sensor that does very well in low light conditions. Here in my office, I don't like to have a lot of overhead light, so I'm typically in lower light when I am on my calls. Here's an example of the footage in really low light conditions. I don't have a single light on in this room other than my laptop screen and my computer screen next to me. All right, so here's some footage in 4K with a lot better lighting. Now I'm going to switch it over to 1080p 60 so you can see what that looks like as well. Now here we are with 1080 with 60 frames a second, and as you can notice, my hands and other movements seems a lot smoother. And then the second thing is this is a 4K Ultra HD sensor, which means you have a lot more resolution to work with when you are on your calls and want to actually punch in on footage. And this really comes into play when you're talking about the AI features of this camera, which is why they call it kind of an AI 4K webcam. With the built-in AI chip that's actually on the camera itself and does not require the computer to do the processing, you actually have 3 different options that make it so that the camera can follow you around the room, whether it be close up above your head, from shoulder width up, or even a group. As you walk around the room, this camera will actually punch in and follow you with that setting that you set. First off, there's group mode, which doesn't really help out here too much because I don't have a group of people, but as you can see, it zooms in on me, and then if I had someone else next to me, it would reframe back to get both people in the frame. Then you have your close-up mode, which tries to do everything from basically shoulder level above. And then there's upper body, and as you can see, it will actually follow me around the room and keep about waist level and higher. It makes for a really great feature when you're on actual calls and you need this camera to follow you as you move around, do presentations, or you just want to keep the camera close up on you so you don't see as much of the background. So when you're dealing with 4K resolution, as it punches in, you don't lose any of that quality like you normally would with 1080p. Now, obviously, when we're using programs like Zoom, which this is certified, or Microsoft Teams, you are getting some degraded quality because of the compression, especially if you have a lot of people on the call. But what this does is make sure that you have optimal resolution and quality no matter what. Another cool part about this camera is it has a little button on the top that you can actually do for some quick settings while you're using the camera. If you press it once, it goes into auto framing. If you press it twice, you can activate the virtual background. And for third, it actually will take it into a sleep mode. It makes it so you don't have to go straight into the app or anything else. It's just a nice little quick button on the top that you could change those settings as you wish. And then there's the focus of the camera itself. You can actually switch this from face focus to autofocus, which makes it so that if you need to keep your face in focus at all times and you have other things going on in the room, you never lose focus of your face. And then you can put it on pure autofocus mode, which works a lot like just a regular camera, where it takes a sample of the frame itself and focuses on what it deems important. Then another cool feature about this camera is you can actually control your background directly through the app on the camera itself. You could blur the background, create a green screen, or even upload your own picture to create a background. I find it does a pretty good job. Obviously, if the lighting's better, it captures the edge of your face and shoulders a lot better. But if you need to be able to replace your background so you don't see everything else behind you, it does do this right on the camera through the AI chip, which makes it a nice feature. And as mentioned, how does all that work? It actually does have the chip on the camera itself. Most other webcams do not have this. They require on the GPU and the CPU of your computer to do all the work, where this actually does it all on board by itself. And then I also really liked how compact this is. I travel a lot for work, so especially in hotels and other areas where I have to be able to take conference calls, it's nice to have a little small camera like this that that packs away really easily, along with the magnetic mount that's easy to set up. It makes for a very compact little solution that I'm able to put into my briefcase or backpack very easily, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. And then speaking of the magnetic mount, it's kind of a really cool feature. It just plops right on top of your laptop, and you can set this in portrait mode or landscape just by setting the camera on the mount itself. And the magnets are pretty strong, so you don't have to worry about the camera slipping during your calls or streaming. Works really well, and it's kind of the first time I've ever seen a camera really set up like that, and I really like that feature in this one. And then lastly, there is the build quality of the camera itself. It does actually feel like an action camera, even though it's just a little bit smaller than a GoPro. And then it also comes with this lens protector, which makes it really easy to travel with, and it also doubles as one of those, hey, I don't want anyone to see me, tape over the lens like people do with laptops. So dual purpose there, but I find that it protects the lens during travel really well, so I don't have to worry about scratching it. So guys, is there anything that I could see kind of improved with this camera? First off, it is $200 on their website, but right now you can actually find it on Amazon for $150, so the overall price outlay is really not that bad. But if you're not someone that streams a lot or has a lot of conference calls or needs a solution like this, it is a little bit expensive if you're not going to get your value out of it. And then if you want full resolution, you are stuck with 30 frames a second. You will notice when you go to 1080p 60, the movement is a lot smoother. This might be more important for people that stream versus conference calls. I know in a lot of my calls, when we have a lot of people, it's really shaky to begin with because of all the compression. But if you're a hardcore streamer and you want something that's 4K 60, this one's not going to do it. And then lastly, since all the processing is actually done on this camera itself and not your computer, it can get pretty warm. There's even a little note about it when you check out on their website about just be prepared this thing gets hot. It does get warm under long use. So guys, overall thoughts on the Meet 4K. I really like this little compact camera. The low light quality is really what sells it for me because I don't like to have to turn on a lot of lights when I'm on conference calls. I also really like the AI reframing and the fact that it does it all in the camera itself. For me, the price point's really not bad because I need a high quality solution like this for when I'm on calls. If you're streaming, you're gonna love the 4K and the fact that it'll actually follow you within the frame. The fact that it gets a little bit hot and then it's $150 to $200 isn't that big of a deal when you're actually just using it in real life. If you have any questions about the Osbot Meet 4K, I'll try to answer as many of those as I can as well. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to Robb Sutton for more reviews like this in the future. And until then, on to the next one. Thanks guys, see ya.